This conference will now be recorded.
Right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Town Commission of February 1st, 2021 at 6 p.m. Thank you to all of those who are listening to our live audio feed. Just a reminder that the live audio feed is no longer interactive. Those that wish to make public comment during the meeting are encouraged to attend in-personally in our socially distanced chambers or send comments to the town clerk prior to the meeting. Town Clerk Armstrong, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bessler,
Here.
Vice Mayor Cos,
Here.
Mayor DeHassett,
Present.
Commissioner Herbert, here, Commissioner Vichelin.
Here.
Please join us in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? I actually have one. I would like to remove under Town Commissioner comments number 15, the Joint Building and Code Inspection Department is no longer relevant after my staff meeting. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. So moved.
Second.
That is a motion by Commissioner Colbert, a second by Vice Mayor Cos. All those in favor signify, please, by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Town Clerk Armstrong, will you please read the announcements?
The next regular Town Commission meeting will be held on March 1st at 6 p.m. at Town Hall. The next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be held on February 8th at 8 a.m. at Town Hall. The next Board of Adjustment meeting will be held on February 17th at 8:30 a.m. at Town Hall. The next Septic to Sewer Citizens Advisory Committee meeting is to be determined. Town Hall will be closed on Monday, February 15th in observance of President's Day. The annual municipal election will be held on March 9th, 2021. There are 2 Town Commission seats open for a 3-year term. Qualified candidates appearing on the ballot are Carolyn Cassidy, Christine DeHassett, John Kramer, and Jeff Pugh. The League of Women Voters will be holding a virtual Town Commission Candidates Forum through Zoom on Thursday, February 11th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Instructions for attending the virtual meeting are listed on the town's website. Persons may submit questions for the mediator to consider asking the candidates until February 11th at 3 p.m. by emailing mjrange@comcast.net. The Town Commission will consider appointments to the following board positions at May 3rd, 2021 Town Commission meeting: Board of Adjustment, 2 regular members for a 3-year term, and Planning and Zoning Commission, 2 regular members for a 3-year term. Interested residents must be registered to vote in Ocean Ridge and submit a resume and letter of interest to the town clerk by the deadline of April 21st at 3 p.m. Incumbents are exempted from the resume and letter of interest requirement. The One Blood mobile bus will be located in the back parking lot at Town Hall on Friday, February 5th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and opens the public for blood donations. Free COVID-19 antibody testing will be offered with every blood donation, along with other free goodies. Residents who wish to sign up to receive important town notifications and news through Civic Ready should sign up on the town's website or call Town Hall for assistance. Next on the agenda, the mayor will invite the public to speak to the commission on any item that is not printed on the agenda. Public comments on a specific agenda item may be made later in the meeting when the items are taken. There is a 1 minute per item, 3-minute individual limit for public comment that will be timed by the town clerk. Public comment is not meant to be a question and answer period. There will be no dialogue. Anyone wishing to speak during public comment will approach the podium and state their name and address for the record. All comments shall be directed to the presiding officer of the meeting and not to individual commissioners, staff, or members of the public. The commission would like to remind everyone that language which involves profanity or cursing, or which is presented in an aggressive manner or threatening manner towards the town commission staff or other members of the public is prohibited. Those addressing the commission shall avoid personal attacks against anyone, and the presiding officer has the authority to remove individuals from the commission chambers if such conduct proceeds after the presiding officer provides a warning that the individual is in violation of this policy.
Thank you. I now open the floor to public comment on any item that is not listed on the agenda.
Evening, Commissioners. Lisa Rattata for Hudson Avenue. I'm here to let you know that you have been lied to from the construction people who have been conducting the new seawalls that are going up at Edith Street and Corinne Street. They told us at the December meeting that they could not and would not access from the property from Corinne down to the other properties at Edith Street. Therefore, they had to destroy the Edith Street access. I'm here to tell you that we have witnessed and have photographs of them moving their equipment along the beach, where they told us emphatically that they could not do that. So you guys need to be completely made aware of it. And then moving forward with that, I'm hoping that I am in the loop of what the new design is going to be that they're going to be doing at Edith Street, because I do have a committee together with our Hudson Avenue residents and other residents in the same area, so we can move forward and have something that we're all going to be happy with. So thank you.
I sent you an email today.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say
Thank you.
I do have one that I received via email. It's from Soanne Hennigan, 91 Island Drive South. Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners, I want to go on record and publicly thank our Ocean Ridge staff members for their proactive role in working with Boynton Beach to include and inform residents of Ocean Ridge of the availability of COVID vaccines on January 21st, 2021. Due to the town manager Stevens' perseverance, tendency, and conscientiousness, she was able to not only include Ocean Ridge in this limited offering, but she was an excellent role model for her entire staff. With Town Clerk Carla Armstrong and other staff members contacting as many residents as possible who had inquired about the availability of the vaccine when the scheduling system was actually live, a great number of Ocean Ridge residents were able to get an appointment for this life-saving vaccine. With only 160 to 200 vaccines available in one day, I am aware of at least 25 Ocean Ridge residents who feel like they won the lottery. And I'm sure there were many more. It was so thrilling to receive the vaccine, and it was terrific to see so many of our residents there as well. It is a teamwork and efforts like this that truly make Ocean Ridge a wonderful place to live. Thank you, Tracy, Carla, Kathy, Lisa, and any other staff members who reached out to residents.
Thank you, and kudos. Town Clerk Armstrong, would you please read the consent agenda into the... Oops, sorry.
Sorry.
Looking down.
Hi, my name is Michael Miller. Should I take this off so you can hear? I live at 10 Ridge Boulevard. The reason I'm here tonight is I have been having issues with the city regarding a generator that is supposedly was installed or was going to be installed in my at my house. I am doing a provision for a variance to put against the board, which I don't feel I should have to, but I am following your rules and doing it. While I'm here, actually, subsequently to that, I'm just going to do a little bit of work on my windows and making them bigger. Excuse me. I have been turned down by 2 contractors and now 3 architects who will not work with the city anymore because of our. I don't know the exact reason. I can kind of guess the reason, but it's not for me to say. But I will say that just to make my windows a little bit bigger, which isn't a big project for a contractor or an architect to do, now I'm at 6 people that turned me down and will work with the city. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer, but I have to let you know that there's obviously a problem. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there other public comments? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Public comment is now closed. Town Clerk Armstrong, would you please read the consent agenda into the record?
Adopt minutes of the regular town commission meeting of January 4th, 2021. Approve budgeted expenditure of $4,690 to Jones Foster for legal services for December 2020. Approve budgeted expenditure of $108 to Robert Reynolds Bedard and Tuzio LLC for legal services for December 2020. Approve a budgeted expenditure of $12,935.96 to Accent Enterprise for the annual license and maintenance/service agreement for the police department body-worn camera system for FY 2020. Proclamation: the municipal election will be held on March 9th, 2021. There are 2 town commission seats open for a 3-year term. Qualified candidates appearing on the ballot are Carolyn Cassidy, Christine DeHassett, John Kramer, and Jeff Pugh. Approval of payroll poll workers for the March 9th, 2021 election.
Okay, I'll now entertain a motion on approving the consent agenda.
I have one change to the minutes.
Okay,
It's on page 3. It was actually said by Vice Mayor Cos. It's almost in the middle of the page. Starts out by Vice Mayor Cos. He says, because the town has more money than was paid. I think you meant to say,
Where are we?
page 3. Yeah. Okay, see where you are?
Vice Mayor Cos disagreed.
Right. And then you say, you don't want to, or you're refunding the contractor because the town has more money. You want to say has spent more money, right? That's why we didn't give them the full money back.
good catch. Any other changes to the consent agenda? Okay, I'll now entertain a motion for approving of the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda with the changes made by Commissioner Vessler.
Second. Okay, that is a motion by Commissioner Vishalak, a second by Commissioner Colbert. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving to agenda item number 2, resolution 2021-01, approving unity of title for 33 Hersey Drive. Town Clerk Armstrong, would you please read the resolution by title into the record?
Resolution number 2021-01, a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, approving a declaration of unity of title for properties located at 33 Hersey Drive and on Old Ocean Boulevard, and providing an effective date.
Okay, I'll now open the floor to public comment.
Maybe you could explain that
Oh,
if
yeah.
a resident wants
Attorney-
to,
Well, let's back up, I'm sorry. Town Attorney Ryan, would you please advise us on this item?
This is, and there's a memo, I won't read the memo, but this is consistent with the ordinance that the commission passed in October, stating that if you have property that is not unified with property on the beach side, that you can unify them under our code in a proper document, and you're able to have a crossover or use the property. And it's only for those people who currently own the property now. So this does not extend towards the future.
towards
So
the,
they came in with an application to do this.
it doesn't extend to the,
Future, this is only for people who currently own the properties now.
but if somebody buys their property in the future,
The unity of title remains.
Oh, yeah, unity of title remains,
Take
yeah.
over the land.
I'm just saying that if a new person buys a piece of property, they can't later try to unify the property.
but
They have to own the
what
property.
happens if the current owner hasn't done the unity because they don't want to put in a deck? And if somebody buys it, that person should be able to unify.
I don't think so.
Well, that's just not right.
I think the ordinance specifically states that the property had to be owned as of the date the ordinance was passed.
Well, you see what we're setting ourselves up for. Like, for instance, 33 Hersey, let's say they didn't build their deck and they sold their property. The people that bought their property should have the ability to put a deck up if they so choose.
If they've already unified the property, they can.
But what if they hadn't unified the property because they didn't need to put the deck up? They didn't want to put it?
under your current ordinance that you passed in October, you can't do that. And I believe that the reason you passed it that way is to stop people from buying a parcel here and then trying to unify property that is not close to their
Not
place.
adjacent.
You have an issue about it.
Correct.
So we were trying to stop that from occurring. So we gave a grace period basically for those who own the property now.
But do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what
I
you're
do.
saying.
Yeah.
Is
I
that-
It's a problem.
It's a catch-22. It's literally a catch-22. So what we tried to do was, we tried to make sure that somebody does not have a piece of property that is not tied to their house and sells that separately. At the same time, and that's why we put this, needs to be on this particular date. At the same time, like on Hersey, like your example, it is two properties that are not unified. If they would have sold the two properties to the next owner wants to unify them, they should be able to unify
That's what
them.
I'm saying. right?
They should just not be able to separate.
So Attorney Ryan, most ordinances solve one and sometimes open up another can of worms for other. If in the future, because I think the ordinance stands and it does what we had tried to accomplish to do. If in the
And
future.
it has been working, by the way.
Yeah.
People have been coming in
Yeah.
and taking care of this issue.
And at a future date, if we did 3 years, 4 years down the road, have a property owner who purchased a parcel that did have a beachfront, what would be the methodology that they would need to go through to do this unity of title, obviously having not been able to partake in this window?
You have to change your ordinance, because now the ordinance states that you have to approve the unities of title so that we can keep track of what's happening. So the point, I wasn't here, but
Do you want me to add a little bit to it?
please, but I.
There's
I did
only-
review the-
What we were trying to do was get the properties unified. So somebody from Canada couldn't buy a piece of property and build something on it when they didn't have a house connected to it. And that was our problem. And I think we had like 3 or 4 of those
Correct.
properties. We only have 2 left. One little strip, I forget exactly where that is, but it's kind of like in a way of other people when people are driving over. Right.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
but then we do have a 50-foot property on the beach with a deck. And the issue came up is, are you really supposed to be able to build something if it's not connected to the house? Now that resident, before we set up this ordinance, separated the property, and that became a problem. So what we're trying to do is we wanted to unify the property, but we want to do it adjacent to. We don't want to have people 2, 3 miles, 5 miles away from that
Even though
property because they can't control it, so to speak, and build on it. So that's what we're trying to do.
So what I'm
So
hearing
this
is
is
there's
not
only
really-
2 other parcels that potentially this could affect. One is a 3-foot wide and you couldn't build on it anyway.
Right. you
Just a
probably
path,
couldn't do
yeah, it's
much
just
to
a
it.
path.
We can't hear you back here at all. Bill, we can hear. Everybody else, you're muted. Please
Did
talk in
the,
the mics.
did the Roses get unity of title last meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So if the Roses sold their property without putting a deck on it, the new person could.
Yes.
Because
Yes,
there's
it's
unity of title.
So the only 2 properties, one of them is here, so that'll stop that one. So then there's the one outstanding on Tropical, which is.
It's not property, it's just a path.
It's 5
basically.
feet wide.
Yeah.
Unbuildable.
It's used.
It's unbuildable.
So do we know that there's no other properties in town?
Correct, we do.
We do.
Right.
That fit this.
That's what I was told. That's what we've been working on, to correct them all. We only have one problem left.
On your property, though,
Yes.
are you unified with your?
Yes.
Yeah.
You are.
And that's what we wanted. We wanted everybody unified so the house can look at that property.
So
to make sure
technically,
nothing's.
everybody else along the dune is basically unified to the house.
Well, correct, but there's some condo situations, but they are unified.
Because it's for accessory structures, right? The accessory
Correct.
structure has to have a property with an actual building on it in order to be an accessory.
Yeah.
And that's, we were trying to tie that all together.
Correct.
So basically, everything along the beach is unified except for 2, is that? what-
Well, one that has a structure on it
Right,
and one that doesn't, that little
Yeah,
strip.
okay, so basically, so those 2. Okay.
Correct.
So that shouldn't be a future problem, right?
We want to just make sure we discuss the difference of, hey, there's some that are deeded in but there's some that are not unified. Like you can see property appraiser where it shows that they are both one lot, like 33 Hersey. They they own both sides, and in the deed, it has the Dune lot. However, they didn't have a unity of title on file, and that's why we're having them do one, because they can go to property appraiser and just separate the lots and not come to the town if it's just in their deed. So there are many cases that actually just have it in their deed, and we do not have a unity of title on file, and that's why we're going through this process. So they're gonna be actually a lot more coming in, because we want to make sure to have this unity of title, so they can't just go to property appraiser and separate it from the dunes without coming before the commission.
So what method are you using to contact all those people?
Well, when they submit for a permit, at that moment, we're catching it and saying, hey, you want to build anything, you need a unity of title if we don't have one on file.
Encourage it.
Since there's so few homes, would it not make more sense to reach out to the 15 odd homes and just say, you know,
That might be deeded and not unified.
correct?
And how much does it cost to unify?
We don't charge anything,
Zero.
it's just for us, it's just they have to fill out something and provide us information, and that's pretty much it, and we bring them before the commission.
I think
You
you should definitely.
file this with the county records?
Yes, we record
So,
it.
so there's just a filing cost of whatever, $15.
I think I'd be more comfortable to make sure that we have reached out to everybody to.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
And do that.
Can you guys hear us back there? Is that better? Can you hear us?
A little bit.
You get them all.
Sorry.
Okay. Good discussion. Would we like to go back maybe to the unity of title for 33 Hersey? Is there any discussion specific to that one piece of property?
Happy to see it.
Fine with it.
Don't forget public comment.
I will. Okay.
Yeah, happy to see it.
Okay. Are there any public comments?
You don't need to if we all agree.
All right. I think, any further commissioner comments?
No.
No, and thank you for the clarifications. I'll now entertain a motion on resolution 2021-01, unity of title covenant for 33 Hersey Drive.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
That is a motion by Commissioner Bessler, a second by Vice Mayor Cos. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay,
So we should definitely follow up on those deeded
Mhm.
properties.
Correct.
Contact them all.
That's a good idea.
town manager has already agreed to that. Okay. Agenda item number 3, town manager's evaluation. Town manager Stevens, will you please advise us on this item?
Absolutely. The annual employee evaluations are completed each year on the hire date for each employee. The collective town manager completed evaluation forms are in your packages, and you had time to review them before the meeting. Due to anticipated decreases in revenue to the town due to COVID-19 pandemic, I opted to not include an increase in salary for myself in this year's budget. So this evaluation is not tied to any sort of raise this year. Again, I want to thank commissioners for their confidence in me and for taking the time to provide valuable feedback for me to use as a tool to grow for the benefit of the residents. If you would like to discuss the evaluations, now's your time. And we don't really need a motion of any sort at the end. These will just be filed in the personnel file action.
Okay,
There's no raise, so there's no motion necessary.
given that it is an agenda item, though, I'd like to now open the floor to public comment. Okay, public comment is now closed. Are there any comments from commissioners?
Yes, I'd like to say a few things.
Sure.
Okay, Tracy has done a good job. She takes constructive criticism well and tries to improve. However, our grading system is not giving her or our town any real benefits. This current system can be problematic down the road. Based on the current evaluation system, most of her grades are 5, which means outstanding. The rest are basically 4s, which means she exceeds expectations. 2 commissioners gave her 10 outstandings and 1 exceeds expectations. 1 commissioner ran 8 outstandings and 3 exceed. expectations. One commissioner had a 4.1, which means on average, she exceeded expectations. And one commissioner had 3.6, which is about halfway between meeting expectations and exceeding expectations. The way I interpret these grades is either we have the best town manager in this country or our standards are set too low. Tracy's been a town manager for 2 years and she's doing a very good job. That's not what this is about. I would like to make 2 recommendations. First, the commissioners received the numerical grades for all town staff, excluding any identification of the other people. Because I'd like to see, are we giving everybody 5s all the time? And then moving forward, I think the commissioners need to redo the grading system to increase their standards when it comes to reviewing the town manager.
Yes, I agree with what Bill's saying. And also I discussed with Tracy, number 2, supervision. There's no way for a commissioner to answer that question. That's inside, town hall on a day-to-day basis. So it might be a matter, Phil, of actually reviewing these 11 items and see which ones a commissioner can actually comment intelligently.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other thing is you've got about 10 or 15 things in one little thing and you got to give a grade on 15 things. And it's kind of tough. Okay, which grade am I giving on which one? And where do I end up coming up with? I think that needs to be looked at too.
I'd be happy to work on a new evaluation form and scoring system with the commission.
Can we make sure it's not in Excel? Please.
It tripped me off too. If I can make a comment about that too, I had struggled with that too, reading through that for the first time. It was my first evaluation of Tracy. And I like things like supervision was the same thing. I was like, well, she's not getting supervision from me. She's not supervising me, so I can't really judge that. And the only fair feedback that I had was, did I ever hear anybody in town or from the staff complain that they didn't get enough feedback from it? And based on having not heard anything, and everybody in the staff seems to be very, very happy with things that are rolling, within the office. That's how I based my recommendation on it. And there's certain things that we can really not judge. We can only judge what is happening here between us, and that should really be what the evaluation as far as us is concerned is about. Maybe we should get an evaluation, a blind evaluation from the staff itself that is being rolled into this too, or for us to have the staff give evaluations back to us so we can see if there's something that they feel needs to be done too.
I think you open a can of worms.
Probably.
Number 1.
That's me.
Number 2, not to be humorous about this, but our actual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ratings, like we have meet expectations, exceeds expectations. But if my expectations are horribly low, then Tracy exceeds them. So we got to take a look at that as well.
Where did this evaluation that we've been working with, where does that originate from?
This was the evaluation that was in place for the previous, at least 2 town managers that I'm aware
Okay,
of.
so it could be time to reevaluate. All right.
And if I can add, the Legal Cities has some excellent resources
there you go.
as it relates
That
to
makes sense.
city manager contracts.
Yeah, and we have our labor attorney that's really good and he can weigh in on that as well.
Any further comments? Okay, I'd like to thank you, Tracy. Thank you, everybody, for your comments, and thank you for humbly not accepting a raise, particularly when this has probably been the most difficult year you could
Absolutely.
ever choose to be a manager.
Absolutely.
So much appreciated. All right, moving on to agenda item number 4, approve amendments to the construction site management handbook. Building official Guy, would you please advise us on this item?
Yes, good evening, everyone. So this is a revisit of the document that was previously approved. However, on page 6, during staff discussion, we needed to streamline how we were going to go about issuing on-site parking permit. And we made some slight changes just to the area on page 6 that's highlighted in yellow. And after staff meetings with commissioners, we even changed it again slightly. So we're going to have 2 approved parking in the right of way, which has not changed. But now we want to clear with contractors that they have to put a system in place to manage, especially subcontractor parking. Make sure that it is fully on site and is not in the right of way. And if they have subs or workers working for those subs, they make arrangements to either park at off-site facility or outside of the town or at a parking space. So these are just slight changes that we've looked at just for this parking.
Okay, thank you. I'll now open the floor to public comment. I'll now close public comment. Now open the floor to commissioner discussion. Vice Mayor Cos?
I'll speak.
Commissioner Vessler?
I'm fine with it.
Commissioner Vishalak?
Perfect.
Commissioner Berlbert?
Looks good.
All right, fantastic. I'll now entertain a motion for approving amendments to the construction site management handbook as amended.
So moved.
That is a motion by Vice Mayor Cos, a second by Commissioner Hurlbert. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item number 5. We are here finally. Request to fill a dispatcher position that was frozen by the town commission. Chief Hutchins, will you please advise us on this item?
During the annual budget process, one police department dispatcher clerk position was held open and effectively frozen the budget. Since the beginning of the budget year, the police department has seen a resignation unexpected of one of our dispatcher clerks to take a position in a family business. And one additional dispatcher clerk has announced a pregnancy-related leave that will be coming in the very near future. The unit operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It serves as our central receiving and contact point for citizens, officers, and visitors, both during regular and after hours. It is our after hours point of contact for any town business, actually. This unit requires specialized training as is required under Florida state statutes, a minimum of 232 hours plus a certification. It has for approximately 9 years now. We're currently using overtime to supplement the vacancies, both in the area of regular leave and unexpected leave, as well as the fixed position that we held open. With the expected maternity leave forthcoming in a vacancy, we will be down to 3 people in that unit. As we discussed in our staff meetings, we have several people that are in the chute, as I like to say. We had a very good turnout this particular recruitment in initial offerings, which dwindled down to us having 3 very good candidates to go forward with, which historically is unheard of in this particular profession, not just Ocean Ridge in general. In addition to the money factor, this is a matter of employee retention and not getting people overworked. It is a 24-hour, 7-day position. I have discussed individually with all of you my concerns. on the human resources side as well as with the town manager. And would ask you to consider the vacancy and possibly filling that position if.
Okay, thank you, Chief Hutchins. I'll now open the floor to public comment. Any budding dispatchers out there? No. Okay, I'll now open the floor to commissioner discussion. I know that you had some questions, Vice Mayor Costa.
Yeah, first up, 90% to 95% of the time when I speak to the dispatchers, they're fabulous. They're really good. I do not understand this chart, 2019 dispatch hours. And so I'm trying to simplify it in my brain. Is the OT pay means that we paid $42,000 in overtime to dispatchers in 2019? Which begs the question, what did we pay in 2020? Anybody have an answer to this?
So these
Can you
numbers
show me
were
where that is?
requested and were provided by
Okay.
the town deputy clerk through payroll. So relying on those numbers out of our payroll system, we did pay $42,029 in in calendar year 19 to man the dispatch.
And how many dispatchers do we have in 19?
Unfortunately, we had 5.
Yeah.
And at one point had 6. We've never maintained.
So we have 5 dispatchers minimum. We're still paying 42,000 in overtime. And how much does it cost per dispatch to hire a dispatcher?
So the base salary that's agreed to in this particular budget is $42,500 for dispatch. Sorry, correct? If I'm wrong.
42, you saying 42?
42,500?
Yes, that's correct.
Is it not?
So is it 42.5 plus vacation days, which is actually money?
It's $42,500
Base salary
base pay.
Yeah.
plus
plus
benefits.
benefits, which would be insurance, retirement, all of those sundry items. If a person takes their vacation, okay, they won't exceed 42,500 because they're not here. They get paid that regular time. So
Right.
the issue of the overtime comes with staffing when somebody does take vacation. So somebody has to fill in most of the time when they take their vacation, so we're paying time and a half to fill. That's what it is.
Not only that, Steve, but if you look at the bottom note there, 3 dispatchers had left that year in 2019, which
Yeah, but you
meant,
hired 2 more.
yes, but while they were gone, we needed to fill their positions with overtime from the rest of the
2
crews.
positions were being filled.
Yes.
So my other question is, what is other pay? $10,000 in other pay.
So if you were to look at, and I'll use the first individual listed on your sheet without mentioning names. Oh.
Yeah.
If you added 1880 and 176, that does not equate to 2,080 hours, which is the amount of time that a normal employee will work over 52. The other pay, I was informed, comes out of our payroll system and relates to mainly hurricane type situations and pay that are taken out separated from regular hours.
So it's overtime by another name?
It's double time in some cases by another name.
Okay.
I couldn't get a clarification as to specifically what every number was in the time that we had to pull the records.
So I'm just doing the math. I'm up to $52,000 now, right? So now on the next page, this is, I think, a question for Tracy. It must be something I just can't understand. Hours worked 5 dispatches at 80/week. What is 80/week?
That's 80 by week. She put per week, but they work 40 hours a week. So it's 80 bi-weekly payroll. So
So
it's 80 for 2 weeks.
I got you. I understand that now. So then it says hours worked 6 dispatchers.
Right, so that's,
But if you wouldn't need, if you got 6, there's something wrong here because you got 5 dispatchers working 80 hours every 2 weeks, 40 hours a week. Then you get 6 dispatchers working.
right. She gave correct. So she gave you the difference if we have 5 dispatchers on staff or if we have 6 on staff. Because that's the question right now. Do we want to maintain 5 dispatchers on staff or do we want to maintain 6?
So
So it's
you're gonna
working
have
here.
to supplement the 10,400 hours.
No.
No, because we only have to fill 8760 if you look at the top number there.
If no one took vacation leave and everyone worked their schedule for 2,080 hours a week for 52 weeks, we would need 8,750 hours to cover that period. So 365 times 24. That's what you're covering.
Right.
Then you take out days off. Okay? And you, which she did deduct regular normal days off. You take out days off and you take out some of those other things. The hours work out fine. It comes in the scheduling problem when somebody takes vacation, sick time, they go to a training seminar, which you send them to outside of their office, those things, and, or they burn the leave. And I've said this to all of you, the town is generous in their leave policy, and is equitable with most everybody else I can find in this business around. But you lose those people for up to 210 hours because the town says the maximum accrual vacation and holiday leave and birthday is 210 hours. If I'm correct. What the deputy clerk attempted to do was to show you that of the 4 employees we have currently, we have 2 of them that are new. They're less than 5 years. They're only earning 86 hours of vacation time a year. What she didn't break down for you was that they're also earning an additional 96 hours of holiday and vacation time to add to that. So if they were to burn their vacation, which is why it's difficult for us to do these comparisons with 19 and 20 because of our vacancies and because of COVID, because this year, I think you will all agree, a lot of folks' travel plans and vacation plans have changed dramatically. And so it's a difficult comparison for us to give you hard numbers on. And I think we tried to give you the numbers that you asked for the best.
Yeah, and 2019 was difficult because we had so much turnover, and then 2020 was difficult to give you because of COVID.
And we're not trying to make them complicated. They are.
It is. Right.
Because it's a 24-hour day,
It just is.
7 day week. So.
Yeah, but obviously the more bodies you have, the less overtime. So it's a question of, does a body cost less than overtime?
Right, that's the game we're playing.
Well, that's why you have to look back at these schedules. So look at your 6-person schedule and your 5-person schedule, and you can see what kind of overlap you have there. And then that tells you another story as well.
But at the same time, the overtime pay is not completely eliminated. And especially not out of that 2000, because 2019 was such a crazy year. The 2000, and even if you go with the 2019, the 2019 would not have been eliminated by having one more position staffed. So you wouldn't, in other words, if there would have been one more dispatcher that year, the overtime pay of 42,000 and the other pay of 10,000 would not have been gone.
Would have been greatly reduced.
It would have been reduced. I don't know by how much it would have been reduced, but it wouldn't have been gone because there's still overtime that is generated due to other circumstances.
Yeah, but the way I see it is I think we should just make this very simple. If you take 8,760, because that's the total hours that you need, and you divide it by 5, 5 dispatchers, that comes up to a number of 1,752. If you divide it by 6, it comes up to 1,460. So the issue is, do we expect our dispatchers to put in 1,752 hours of work, or do we expect them only to put in 1,460 hours? That, if you put in 1,460 hours and that's all your work and get paid for 2,080, that's an awful lot of leave and vacation and all that stuff.
They do have quite a bit.
Which is, but that is not in the 8,760.
Yes, it is.
It's 8,760 plus there's about 210 maximum that you can get out of.
It takes a while. It takes a while to accumulate 210.
No, I understand, but let's just go worst case scenario, right? We're going worst case scenario. Every one of those dispatchers takes all of their sick leave, all of their whatever they can accumulate each 210 additional hours, which comes to 1,050. So that the the 8,760 plus 1,050 is really the number that we should base things off, because that's our worst case
That's the
scenario.
most they-
Worst case.
So
Right.
the 210 does not include your sick.
Okay, so they don't get sick.
Email, maybe.
And that- I'm hoping that they.
Well, 2 of our dispatchers got perfect attendance last year.
That's right.
There you
That's
go.
right.
One of them is celebrating their 16th anniversary.
Yeah.
So,
But I agree that, I mean, we need to look at it by the hour. Is it feasible? Is it not feasible?
So the only other thing that plays into this, and I understand the staffing and necessity to keep things within reason, I would be remiss if I didn't mention. That is that they play a dual role in that organization. And so one of the employees is the manager, is the records manager also, and has functions that it's best if she doesn't have to be a dispatcher on the radio and on the telephone 5 out of 5. It's just for the agency and for the town and those functions, it works better if she's not. In addition, I would ask that you take into consideration the fact that we're staffing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And our history here has told us that when we have gone to the bare minimum and we have tried to bounce coverage for relief shifts, that we often run into trouble without having people having to work double shifts or losing people historically here because the person who's on relief works all 3 shifts during one period. That's a human problem that I just think that, as we discussed individually, I think everybody just needs to be aware of. And, you know, it's not purely a numbers issue. Numbers are important. There are some other factors. Ask you to consider in whatever decision you make.
Have you lost people through overwork?
We have, historically here, we have lost people to go to other jobs because they did not like their schedule of the relief when we were working 5 people on 8-hour days.
Yes, you say the same.
Yeah,
thing.
and
It's sustainable for a certain period of time, just like anything else. And we see that through our attrition sometimes in the numbers you're seeing here. It's an individual desire. Some people love overtime. Some people love overtime today and don't like it tomorrow. It's very different.
it's a circumstance that changes personally.
Yeah, can I address that just really quickly? And we did work on schedules this year, and the new schedule that they're working off of, they like it a lot better. We made that one of our priorities this year to make sure that their schedule is one that they liked, because we were seeing some turnover in that department. The other thing I wanted to mention too, and bouncing off what the chief just said about the records, the dispatch manager with the 5-person schedule would have 2 days a week. As you can see on the schedule, there's an overlap. 2 people are working Monday and Tuesday, so she does have that period 2 days a week
Do you have?
that she would be able to do records.
Yeah, so the original.
Oh, the original back.
So I'm seeing a lot of blanks eyes out in the audience, and I can understand why. Can I try to, and help me if I'm correct in this? What we are faced with, the decision we are faced with is obviously replacing the one employee who left. That is a given. Then there is an additional position that has been frozen. It has been budgeted, but it has been frozen, and we were trying to see if we could wait to fill it based on what was happening. Along comes the miracle of pregnancy, and one of our employees is now going to go on a minimum of a 12-week leave. The question is, do we, by still retaining her spot, are we better off going ahead and filling that frozen position? Or one of the discussions that I believe that we all had in staff was, do we eliminate that position, allowing a part-time employee to come in to cover when she is out on leave? So we end up at the very end, net, and maybe review next year whether or not that another full-time position is necessary.
That's
Is that everybody's understanding?
Yeah.
That was the
What is a
caveat.
part-time, is there such an animal?
Yes.
Yes.
Part-time dispatcher? They're available?
Yes.
I'm asking the chief.
I was told yes.
Like, is there a dispatch service you call up?
No, not that I'm aware of, and not that I've been able to find since we've started this discussion.
Yeah.
Are there people that are willing, that are certified dispatchers working in other areas that may be willing to come and fill in on a part-time basis? That possibility exists. I will tell you, I don't know how good it is in this particular time frame, and I don't know what the response would be until we actually explore it. I know that some agencies use a lot of part-time. I can tell you that my experience with that is that we often help those agencies too, when that doesn't work out. So we would have to explore that. I'm not opposed to that. I want you to understand, but it's not something that I can tell you. There is a temp agency that lists dispatchers for hire. I haven't found it. I looked today as late as 5:45 in an organization we belong to see if they had something like that. They don't. And if they don't, I don't know of any around. We would have to reach out to the college, reach out to other agencies and put that out. If you authorize that, I would say some more information on what the starting or the conditions of employment would be.
Okay, I did understand though from our staff meeting that you had presented that as a compromise position, so.
That was presented to me as a.
Yes. It was discussed.
And I would like to be transparent and let all of you know when somebody brings a compromise position that I didn't.
Thank you, fair enough.
We talked about how the clerks have a clerks network. The dispatchers also have a dispatchers network that we could utilize to try to get word out that we may have a part-time position open if somebody wants to come in and get extra hours. That's another avenue we could use. Also, the chief is also looking at 2 candidates right now that look pretty good. One of them is already certified. So that person may or may not, we don't know, want to come in and work part-time position up to 6 months, according to our personnel policies.
And if I may, as I said in my memo of backup that I gave you, should you choose to authorize filling the 6th position now, if there is a vacancy later on, I am absolutely not opposed to reconsidering raising that position again. I haven't been ever. I think that the circumstance is where we are. And if we get back up to speed and things get back to normal, then certainly I think you need to look at that. I do. I think we have to look at that no matter what, especially in our planning process. I didn't foresee the circumstance coming up, and I didn't foresee having to come ask you for the 6th position to be filled. But obviously, I felt strong enough that I brought it to a public forum.
The chief, you had mentioned at the meeting we had, you wanted, if we were only going to pick the number 5, that you wanted that position removed for morale reasons. So
I think if our decision is that it's not necessary to have a 6th position, as much discussion and as much pouring over of documents and stuff we have made today, I think that would be a good decision. What I face every day is a question about, we wouldn't be in this position if they had allowed us to fill the position that was allocated in 2017. We always hold it open to save money. We're in a position now where we need it. And like I said, some folks love overtime, and it's not important to fill that position in their mind today. And tomorrow they feel like they've been here 2 weeks in a row and they want to know why. So I think now is a good time for us to make a decision, and we presented you with a lot of information. We have readjusted our schedules in the last calendar year. Okay. We've been trying to do that for 6 or 7 years to make employees work life, home life balance work, and so that we can retain them for long term. And part of that scheduling brings on some of these discussions, especially when you lose one person. I understand it is a very difficult position for you to be in, and I don't mean to put you in that position, but it's a difficult position for myself also, I think for Tracy.
So base salary being 42.5, what is all in? 60, 65?
Yeah, you have to look at 42.5 and then 30 to 40% benefits for health insurance, dental, retirement.
So 55 to 60,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
And I think I just looked at some salary surveys the other day. I think we're well positioned in our dispatch. I really do. I think that the decisions that you've made in the past about salary ranges have played out very well, even today. And it's very difficult. Looking at a lot of national trends, it's a difficult position to fill everywhere.
That's my last question. Based on history, annual history, would you expect one dispatcher to leave us this year? Typically.
One just did.
That's why
we're here.
Kind of answer the question.
Based upon our history in that unit in the last 10 years, that would absolutely be no surprise to me whatsoever. I'm actually, hate to say this, but I'm surprised that perhaps one of them has not already chosen to, based upon comments, has not already chosen another profession, moved on this year already.
So we're filling a short-term need, we're getting ahead of the curve, and with the recommendation that if everybody is aboard and happy and the gal returns from maternity leave, that then we could, if another position became available, we could look at freezing it in the future.
So my long-term planning kicking in so that we don't get to the point where we have two people working and I have to supplement with the chief and a lieutenant and an officer who sitting back in there and taking folks off the road and doing whatever we can, or calling favors from other agencies, is that because of our circumstance today, my thought was if we could bring on two of the three young ladies that we have going through our process now, and two of them are successful in training and completion of that, we will be ahead of the curve. And if someone were to leave, yes, I would go back to the manager and say, this is our vacancy. Are you willing to fill the position, or what is the direction? And in the past, it has been to hold the position of, we have done that. And I don't think there's been any problems when we have not had these types of circumstances. Because of the 12-week, generally it takes, there's an 8-week minimum training, and 12 weeks is what we usually get, and some folks don't do well in that environment. I know Tracy and I have discussed this with certain employees that have come and gone in the past. They were wonderful employees. They just could not, that was not their place to work. They went on their own. I'm just trying to hedge my bets on getting success through the short term and into the long term. However, as I said before, the direction you feel is best for the town at this point in time. And we have had a lot of discussion individually about what we can, or maybe we can.
Can we have two candidates right now. One of them would fill position number 5. Can we train the second candidate and leave it as a part-time position at the moment, and with the understanding that there might be a job opening down the road where they can slide into a full-time position?
Well, we can't make that promise.
I wouldn't make it a problem.
So could we do that? If that is the desire of the commission, we can attempt that. I don't know what that person's reaction would be.
Well, if it's me, I'm going to get certified and then go get a full-time job in another town.
Right.
And we become a training center, and I absolutely oppose Ocean Ridge in any position that I supervise being a training center.
No stepping
It
stone.
cost us way, I worked in an agency that we did that. We were the training center, everybody came in, worked for a year, and then went to somewhere better or brighter, whether it was or not. And it costs a lot more money than it does to try and retain. So I
So
want
this
to be cautious
position
about
that's
that.
frozen, it's budgeted already,
Yes.
correct?
This position
Okay.
was allocated in 2017. It's been budgeted since 2017. It is budgeted this year.
It's budgeted, and what the discussion is that a long-term, position that you want to fill? Because it could be long-term, and then you would have 6 dispatchers potentially
We would have to-
long-term.
We don't have
Or
to
do
worry
you
about
just
that.
want to fill a short-term need?
So I would say we should go and fill position 5 and 6. We know 1/4 of the year, we're going to be down to, currently down to 3 dispatches when the pregnant woman leaves. And there's every chance that some dispatcher will leave at some point during this year, and we have it budgeted.
There's always the chance, and I hate to say this, but
I
the
don't think
reality
we'd be
is
down
there's
to
a chance
three.
that one of the two.
We'd be down to 4.
Right, we'd be down to 4.
Yeah, okay, 4.
There's always a chance, because of our historical perspective on things, that one of the two will not stay past training or will not make training. And then we're behind the curve again. That's the biggest concern of mine right now. Is not getting to the point where we were 2 years ago and 5 years ago and 3 years ago, where we had such a mass exodus at one time. Not for any fault of our own, to be honest with you. People needing to move out of state, people need to move into other agencies because they moved to North Florida and south of here. I don't want to put the town in that position.
Okay, any further discussion from commission?
I still think we can live with 5 because it only comes out to 1,752 hours for an FTE.
Would that be filling the one and utilizing the part-time?
Correct. The
Right.
way I would do it is you go with the 5th hire,
Right.
you'd hire the 5th one, you'd temporarily do one for the maternity, and then you'd eliminate the position to get rid of the morale issue. That's my recommendation.
Would you like to go ahead and make a motion on something like that? Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. So I make the motion to hire the 5th dispatcher, fill the maternity issue with a temporary employee, and then eliminate the frozen position so that we don't have a morale issue going forward.
Okay. Do I hear a second to the motion? All right, all those, huh?
One of us.
Okay, I'll pick one. That is a motion by Commissioner Fessler, a second by Commissioner Hurlbert. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Okay, agenda item number 6. Change July and September Town Commission meeting due dates due to holidays. Town Manager Stevens, will you please advise us on this item?
Certainly, the regular town commission meeting dates in July and September will fall on a holiday this year, Independence Day and Labor Day. In the past, the commission has either moved meetings that fall on a holiday to the next day, which is Tuesday, or to the Monday following the original meeting date. However, the meeting may be held on any date that the commission so chooses. Due to the critical timeline for budget meetings in accordance with the TRIM guidelines, it's my recommendation that the meetings are held on Tuesday, July 6th and Tuesday, September 7th.
Okay, I now open the floor to public comment. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. I now open the floor for commissioner discussion.
September 7th is Rosh Hashanah. Is that something we need to be concerned with or should take into consideration? Oh, that's right.
It's not a holiday that staff would be off on, if that answers your question.
What would be an alternate date? Obviously, September 6th, Monday is not workable.
Wednesday, the same week. I would move it to the following.
No, we can't because that
Because of
is
the
nothing to
budget.
do with the budget. And the question is the 8th, because September is that month when everything needs to fall like we
Exactly.
place. Is the 8th even an option? When
It
you
would be.
calculate it out?
Yeah, it could be an option, yeah.
Because we need to, I think that's the date when we need to certify the trim.
You do, that would be
And
the
then we
first
have 2
public
weeks
hearing.
from that day forward, which would be if we move it to the 8th, then it would be the 9th, and 2 weeks, that's the 23rd.
It's doable.
It's doable?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Claus,
Whatever you guys decide, fine by me.
Me too.
Commissioner Bessler?
I'm retiring.
Yeah. Commissioner Horber?
I'm good, I think this is.
Leave it on the 7th. If we're all good with it, I'm fine with it.
Staff hearing.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing it to our attention, though. Okay, I will now entertain a motion on changing the July and September Town Commission meeting dates as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
That is a motion by Commissioner Herbert, a second by Commissioner Dushelack. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to staff reports. Agenda item number 7. Assistant Town Clerk Gatewood, would you please present the report on enhancing communications?
By the way,
Fantastic report.
thank you. At the direction of the town commission, town staff has been exploring ways for enhanced communication of important public notices. The first thing that I did was we ran an internet search using Google to conduct a test to see if there was web prominence of our name. I did find that that was true. The first page results showed the town website as well as town accounts for Facebook, Nextdoor, Yelp, Wikipedia, Unicode, and Twitter. After I established internet prominence, a SWOT analysis was done it was done to collect information about the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Primarily, SWOT analyses are done to help organizations develop a full awareness of all the factors involved in making a business decision. Attached to this report, I have exhibits A through H. I also noted below that the items that we are working to implement and things that we are considering to implement. And I didn't know if you wanted me to go through those items.
I think we have all had the opportunity to probably read them and invest it in an absolutely exhaustive amount of work and laid out very concisely, and I know that we all appreciate it. I think individually, we've all had some comments at staff level. I don't know if they're necessary to go over publicly, but yes.
Can I just add one thing before you start your discussion? One of the items that we did was we created a survey to send out to residents, and we started that on Friday. I handed out to you the preliminary results as of today. Of course, we're still gathering responses, but as of today, we had already received 86 responses to the survey, and it was a very overwhelming 94% of the town feels that the communications from the town are adequate at this time.
And how was this publicized to get the respondents?
We put it out on social media and through
Facebook?
Civic Ready. It was posted on the website under news and events.
And how long are we going to gather data for the survey?
We'll keep it open for a while because we would like as many residents as possible to fill out the survey.
Can we get this into the water bill? Because I think one of the issues that
We have to wait a whole year. We can, but you'd have to wait a whole year. Water bills go out once a year.
Oh, you're talking about.
Do you mean the garbage and trash bills?
Yeah. We can't because we don't send out water bills to the city of Boynton Beck.
And we can't add specifically to our,
No.
because I think one of the issues is that I'm sorry,
No,
I'll reserve my comment.
no, go ahead.
No, it's, the issue with some of the communication is that there's residents that are not civic ready, they do not look at the website, they do not have Nextdoor as one of their sources. And those are the ones that are missing really what's going on, and we're not catching them with the survey. We're catching basically the ones that are plugged into the way we communicate already. So the idea would be to try to find more residents that are not plugged into these systems, so we can get a,
Yeah, we could, I mean, if you wanted to pay the money, we could send out something in a mailing.
But they get it, they're expensive, right?
So what I hear you say is that we're preaching to the choir, and I totally agree. One of the things that I do know that there's been discussion is potentially reaching out to all of the multifamily HOA presidents or heads of boards and having them share also with their residents in order to help us kind of aggregate and get the word out. So that might be a first step to see what type of response we get on a much more financially feasible basis.
I had planned on doing that, but I had already sent out an email to all of them about the blood drive, so I didn't want to overwhelm them.
Okay.
And also the recycle right information I had just given them. The highest response that we've had to any kind of communication that I've seen is through direct mail, through the garbage and trash bill, and through the monthly newsletter. When someone comes in and asks, or they call, how much is the notary service? I heard you do that. I always ask, how did you find that out? And it's always the newsletter or through direct mail. So the one that I created with Guy that had all the town services, that was the highest response I've ever seen for anything.
Do we know how many people are on Civic Ready, or what percentage of the population in Ocean Ridge?
It's close to 500 almost.
Yeah, I want to see, it's between 400 and 500.
462.
Mhm. And I think next door is a little bit less than that. Mhm.
Thank you so much. I mean, given that this has been a topic of consideration for residents, and it does involve residents, although it is not required, I might like to go off the beaten path with the permission of my fellow commissioners and just open it up for public comment. Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah. Welcome anybody that has public comment.
Lisa Rotoda for Hudson. I just happened to do the survey tonight, and I wanted to say question number 7 only lets you pick one, because it asks, Ocean Ridge Town Hall always strives to communicate effectively with the community. What topics interest you the most? It only allows you to select one, and there's multiple ones here.
So only 2 of the questions out of the 7 are ranking and for answers. So you're saying.
So this
That
last one,
you
it gives you an option for health and welfare, safety, town meetings, public works projects, road closures, environmental, building code enforcement, community events, other. But it only lets you select one.
Okay, so you want to be able to rank those?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I can change that.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Oh, Mrs. Cole.
Good evening, Commissioner. Stella Cole, 204 Beachway. I kind of don't understand what's going on with this communications. People in town, they need something, they contact town hall, they contact the police chief. We get it. A lot of people we have in town don't want to be bothered with mail. I mean, we can't be spending money sending flyers and sending things out when we're in a deficit and you're complaining about not getting another person in dispatch. I mean, we need to use a little bit of common sense. We've got organizations, we've got the mail that comes out, I mean, the email that comes out to us, everybody signs up for. When people in town move into town, the realtors are very much encouraged. I know the Garden Club reaches out to people. Please come forward, come to the town meeting. Here's who you talk to if you need something. I mean, let's not spin our wheels. Thank you. And I don't mean to be insulting. I just don't want to spin our wheels.
Thank you.
I have a few things to say. I think we ought to shelve this whole idea. We have the beginnings of a survey, and it's got 94% of town feels our communications are fantastic. We did have an eruption, and I think this is a total overreaction to an eruption. I don't want to knock Kathy's work, but this must have taken her hours to do. And we have things in here like hiring a public relations firm. We have new resident gift bags to include all this additional stuff.
I feel that's important. And I'll
I
tell you
don't
why.
have a problem with the town
Because
contacting, but
I
adding
speak
more
with
material
the new
to it.
residents on a regular basis and the real estate agents.
Excuse me,
and
Kathy?
I speak with the new residents quite often. and
Please
real
come to the
estate
podium.
agents.
I agree, we already do it. Tracy handed me the package that you guys provide. So to throw more stuff into the package, I think we're just getting out of control. We had a problem with the people on Hudson Street, right? And we have isolated that Tracy perhaps erred, and we didn't tell the people on Hudson Street what we're doing, okay? Other than that, we got a survey right now that says 94% of the town is extremely happy with our communications. So I would wait until you get your condo presidents weighing in and all that and revisit this.
And I think most of what has been proposed is very cost efficient. There's not anything, and I agree, nobody is agreeing to hiring public relations. It's just maximizing what we have and making sure the message is consistent without spending any additional funds.
Well, there's two things here that are easy. The Coastal Star free classified section, I'm surprised we're not already using that.
I've been using that for 2 years.
Yeah, so it's not a new idea, okay? And then the sandwich board, which Tracy has shown us pictures of that, I'm always a fan of sticking a sandwich board in front of town hall because of the amount of traffic on A1A that's our residents, and that hits these residents that you're worried about that aren't part of the social media crowd.
I think Ron wanted to speak.
Mr. Kern.
Thank you. Ron Kern, 5510 North Ocean Boulevard. Katie sends me all your announcements. Okay, I get them through a variety of ways, but typically email. I'm a board member, as you know, of Crown Colony Club, so we have a Facebook page. Our Facebook page has all 148 unit owners on it. They now have the survey, they now have the blood drive, they also have the recycling program. So they see it. So one email reached out to 148. And I would bet that of that, how many returns you got so far? 90?
Yes, 94.
I'll bet you a third of them came from Crown Colony. We like you.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
I'm going to say the same thing as when we were going through this at the staff meeting. I thought the same thing. It came from the right place. What can we do? How can we make it better? There's always ways to make it better. But I too believe that we probably have a very good communication situation. And people that want to know, need to know, especially in our little town, contacting us. I mean, my goodness, that just wave you down on the street. It's easy. You want to know what's going on. You call if you haven't gotten it in the email, like Ron said. So we can always tweak what we have. But I don't think we need to take up a whole bunch of time, effort, and money in making a huge PR campaign.
Okay, any further commissioner comment? Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it. Moving on to agenda item number 8. Planning and Zoning Vice Chair Carey, would you please present your report?
Good evening. Not much to report. The summary of what you have before you is that we're working on some ordinance items to address building height, parapet height and demolition. We're going to review draft ordinances next Monday. Probably some reworking on those, get those in form and get them before you as quickly as we can. But we're trying to think it through thoroughly and meticulously. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9, Chief Hutchins, will you please present your chief police report?
Good evening. I would ask that you accept the police and fire report as presented in your agenda unless you have any questions.
I figured you were going to announce that a dispatcher's quit.
What, 10 minutes?
Not yet. No, I think that the crew you have is there. I'd like to veer off of my agenda and read you a commendation that I received on my desk from one of my sergeants to an officer today, after confirming some information. I think it's very important for the residents to know and for the commission to know. We are still seeing stolen vehicles. We are still seeing criminals visiting us as late as Saturday morning. Unfortunately, we had another car stolen. I will tell you that the door to the garage was up and the keys were in the ignition, and we recovered it within an hour after we got the report. However, I have to urge people to please try and check your garage door before you go to bed. I understand sometimes they get forgotten. Don't leave keys or valuables in your car. Let another community be a target for change, please. There's a letter of commendation I received, and I would like to read it to you because it is very important. I'll tell you what we are doing in today's time. On January 24th, while on patrol, Officer Becker spotted a vehicle which seemed a little out of place. She investigated further, which led her to conducting a traffic stop. The vehicle had dark tinted windows, including a windshield and several holes in one side, which were later confirmed to be bullet holes. The vehicle was occupied by 3 individuals, all with extensive criminal histories. Those histories included burglary, grand theft auto, and later to be determined will be probably involvement in a homicide. During the investigation, the driver was discovered to be a felony habitual traffic offender with a revoked driver's license, and therefore some action was being able to be taken, removing the vehicle and the individuals. Unbeknownst to Officer Beckford at the time of the stop, the vehicle and individuals that she stopped coming into Ocean Ridge and observing operating in a suspicious manner just committed an occupied burglary and attempted to steal a vehicle in the city of Delray Beach immediately prior to entering Ocean Ridge. It has since been learned that the vehicle is also previously involved in a double homicide. Officer Beckford is commended for her proactive patrol and her dedication to the duty of protecting the residents of Ocean Ridge. And the reason that I wanted to read this particular commendation is because we are an island, but we are not an island. And all of the technology in the world, the vehicle that they were using is a secondary rental. So it's being rented by someone and then re-rented for the purpose of crime. All of the technology in the world, until we get information like this, doesn't help us in that. It's a bias on the street that are stopping it. It's people calling us and telling us that something doesn't belong or looks out of place and allowing us to investigate, no matter what that is. So I encourage everyone to call us. As you can tell, we encourage our officers to see those things. Please tell your neighbors, lock your cars, take the valuables, take the keys in. Don't be a victim. If we're not in a place of opportunity, maybe they will go somewhere else.
Thank you, Chief. And I know that this stop was made just so you don't think that it was 2 o'clock in the dead of night. It was in broad daylight.
Broad daylight.
I walked by it on A1A. Okay. On that somber note, Agenda item number 10, Town Manager Stevens, will you please present your town report?
In the month of January, we celebrated the following employee anniversaries with the town. Police Officer Billy Ranta celebrating 2 years, Police Officer Keith Ramirez 2 years, and myself 5 years. We thank them for their service and dedication to the town. The photometric plan has been completed for the Crown Colony Crosswalk. Ingenuity submitted the plan and updated drawings to FDOT for final approval of the crosswalk. We'll keep you updated as to the status of the permit when we receive notification from FDOT, although they have just let us know that it's going to take around 30 days for them to review the application and get back to us. Please check the town's website regularly for important informational updates regarding vaccine opportunities. I posted another one today. Town staff will continue to work to gather information regarding vaccines for our residents to ensure everyone who wishes to be vaccinated can do so. I attached an updated aerial of the seawall project. Carla, do you have that aerial that you can post for the public? It's the map. This one. So the updated aerial of the seawall project at Anna and Edith Street crossover areas is being projected for you to look at. DEP approved the construction of 3 more seawalls in order to produce a final gap closure near the Anna Street project. Seawalls will be constructed at 6059, 6057, and 6029 Old Ocean Boulevard in order to close the gap between them and the properties to the north and the south. Although 3 more seawalls need to be constructed, the contractor still needs to have all of the beachside work completed before the beginning of turtle season. No other seawall extensions are being considered by DEP as part of this project. Also, in reference to the seawall project, as you heard earlier in public comment, we received a resident complaint that the contractor was moving equipment along the beach between Anna and Edith Street crossover, which the resident noted was not the plan as intended. As noted in my report to you at the December 2020 Town Commission meeting, one of the main concerns of the contractor was the limited time frame to complete construction before turtle season begins, and the ability to traverse the area on dry land in safe conditions, as there are 2 homes that extend eastward onto the beach, limiting that area, especially during high tide conditions. One of the reasons we closed both crossovers was to give the contractor the ability to complete both projects simultaneously while keeping beachgoers as safe as possible during construction. The movement of equipment along the beach was never precluded. However, it was noted that it would pose challenges during high tide conditions. I want to take this opportunity to thank Stella Cole, I think she's still in the audience, and other residents along Beachway Drive for their recent efforts in helping the Public Works Department to clean up and restore the plantings at the town's Beachway crossover. We had some dead plantings there and just a lot that needed to be cleaned up, and we truly appreciate our volunteers and Mrs. Cole for their hard work and community spirit in helping the town. The Garden Club is holding a Valentine's Day Roses and Chocolates fundraiser. Pre-order by February 9th in the online shop at www.oceanridgegardenclub.org. And contactless pickup will be provided on Saturday, February 13th from 11 to noon here in the Town Hall parking lot. Proceeds support the Ocean Ridge Garden Club, Patrice Mahon, I don't know if I pronounced that right, I'm sorry if I didn't, Scholarship Fund. We thank the Garden Club again for their continued efforts to make Ocean Ridge a great place to live. And then last but not least, Palm Beach County did extend the emergency order mandating masks in Palm Beach County until February 21st.
All right. Agenda item number 11, Town Attorney Brian, do you have anything to report?
Yes, I have only one item, and it is the police chief's contract. As you will recall, at the last commission meeting, Town Manager Stevens brought up the fact that chief's agreement was up for renewal. Since that time, I've had the pleasure of negotiating a one-year amendment with both of them to the chief's contract. The chief, I want to pass it down for you all. The chief has already executed the agreement, as have I. And the town manager is prepared to execute it, but we determined that although he has the right and the authority to execute contracts, when it's over $10,000, we need the approval authorization from the commission. So at this time, I just passed out an amendment. We would ask for a motion to authorize the town manager to execute the one-year agreement with the police chief.
Got any discussion? You want to make a motion?
Well, you can make a motion and then discuss it.
Make a motion to have the town manager sign the contract for police chief Al Buckley.
I'll second.
Okay. I'd like to open it up for conversation.
I'm all set. Thank you, Ken.
All right. Okay. That is a motion by Vice Mayor Cos, a second by Commissioner Hurlbert. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And I just want to say that I'm new here and it has been a pleasure to work with both of them. The chief has been absolutely great, and so is the town manager. And the chief is going to retire after this agreement, but I wanted to say that I think you have a wonderful chief, and I look forward to working with him this next year very much.
I think we all agree.
Yeah.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you. What else to say?
Agenda item number 12, the town engineer and public works report was included in the meeting packages. Are there any questions or comments from the commission?
I actually have a comment on the ingenuity report, and it's just a follow-up also on Tracy's report. I was out there on when we did the light readings for the crossover for Crown Colony, and there's an issue which might delay us a little bit. I just want you to understand that this has nothing to do directly with the town. There's a street light, and if you actually go out and see where that crosswalk is proposed at night, the street lights to the left and the street lights to the right have a different light, a different intensity of light than the light where the crosswalk is actually at. And I think it's FP&L that needs to come out and needs to replace that light fixture for one that is brighter in order to catch the same light readings. And we did take light readings also closer to the other ones just to see if that would comply with it. And they think that they're gonna be able to pass this by with the new light head on it.
So is it the light
that is done?
The light in the middle?
It's the light that is right next to that crosswalk.
Yeah, Lisa already put in a work order.
Okay, but until that is done, FDOT is probably not going to move forward. Let us do what we need to do. So just, they're working on it, but it might be delayed by a couple of weeks until somebody does the right thing.
I'll just let it sit, because there's 20 crosswalks that don't even have a light in. We're basically,
Would you like to come to the?
Conley told me not to get into this.
We won't tell them.
All right, yeah. Okay, Ron Kernighan, 5510 North Ocean. There's 40 crosswalks between when you start in Boca and you come to the Woolbright Bridge. 20 of them have no lighting equal to or even close to what we have at the end of Fayette, the one that you're talking about. The other 10 of them are in Highland Beach. We spent $250,000 to put solar powered crosswalk lighting. Okay, when you break it down, just very few of them actually would meet what would be today's standards from the FDOT. We think this has been way too long. It's 2.5 years now that we've been trying to get this crosswalk. And this last one, they asked us in October, they said the light study that well, first of all, the pictures and the narrative from Ingenuity basically told them that this was plenty of light and it met most of the requirements. FDOT disagreed and wanted a light study. Town went and dug into her pockets that they didn't need to spend money on, and we did a light study. That's the one you're alluding to. Okay. That went out. To get the letter, okay, each time when we send something in, 48 hours later, we got something back from the FDOT. This time we got it back where they had another request. This time we got it back and they said, sorry, we got your thing, but it's going to take us 30 days or more to evaluate your application. This time we did send the study along with the permit application, and which basically said, okay, guys, we've done everything you've asked. All I need to do is basically pass it. The money's there, the study's there. Why 30 days? Now, I've been told that there are problems because of COVID, with staffing, and I can believe that because our seawall permit with the Army Corps of Engineers is now on its 7th month. So it doesn't surprise me, okay, that other areas of the government actually have that kind of an issue. But this one here, if they could get it back to us as quickly, because it doesn't, it's a matter of saving lives, because that crosswalk is dangerous. Though we don't have. We every time, when Mike Caruso got involved in this, I'll tell you just a quick funny story. We had him there and we wanted to cross the street. He starts crossing the street and the car almost hits Mike Caruso. If I would have paid that guy, whatever it was, okay, that did that, because it couldn't have come at a better time, okay? But it was just an example of how dangerous it can be across there. And our average age there is 75 years old. And at least half the people go to the beach. And these days, our pool is restricted. So we have more people going to the beach these days than we did before. So I would just hope that, that there's some movement. We're standing by waiting for it to happen. I have sent Representative Caruso a note basically telling him what happened. And he's gotten back to me saying he's on it.
Good.
So let's see what we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Frey. Okay, moving right along to number 13. Building official Guy, would you please present your building officials report?
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor and distinguished member of the task. I invite you to accept the building official report in the package as read. Do you have any questions or comments?
I did have one comment. You had added a section called status of major construction, and I thought that was fantastic. I think that's very helpful, and I'd like to see it also added to the website and make sure that the comment section stays as up to date as possible. I think it might help field some of the calls that you are continually inundated with, or people tracking you down and pulling you off the road. So thank you.
Okay.
Can I just make a quick comment?
Sure.
I just wanted to thank building official Guy as well, because as part of our enhanced communication services to the public, he developed a community contractor forum that we're going to be putting in place. It's kind of an education program for the residents and contractors to come in prior to town commission meetings on the first Monday of each month from 5 to 5:45. They'll have different topics to talk about each month. And I think that will be a great addition to the town. So thank you.
Thank you.
I wish that Mr. Miller would have stayed because I wanted to address some of the things that he had brought up in terms of building and construction, but
Do we have a phone number for Mr. Miller?
I have contact information and I wrote some notes based on his comments.
send it over to me, I'll reach out to him. Next possible.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, last but not least, very quickly, the mayor update. I was on my monthly mayor's call, as you can imagine. The discussions were all centered around the availability or lack thereof of the vaccine, and our residents having, particularly our elderly residents, having a heck of a time trying to actually get on and navigate sites. So it is a process It is a journey. Hopefully, the county will continue to advocate to get more of their fair share of allocation of the vaccines. Just thank you to town manager for keeping us as up to date as possible. I was also on an issues forum Zoom meeting, which was with county officials and neighboring town managers. And there was a presentation by the sustainability manager of the county talking about vulnerability assessments and sea level rise. We're right on top of that because we have our vulnerability study coming up. Probably within the next 2 months will be released. We are one of the 6 municipalities that joined together to actually do this. So everybody's kind of anxiously waiting to see what that looks like and what that will do to regular building codes and changes and ordinances. So,
yeah, can I just add that this town commission appointed you to sit on that issues forum?
Correct. Yeah, correct. I spoke with the mayor of Boynton. I thanked him personally and on behalf of the town for including us in his pod vaccination pieces, and he was very thankful for that. And I do know that several residents actually reached out and spoke to him and or emailed him also, which was very nice. He was very touched by that. And I also spoke with the mayor of Briney to thank him for including us in their Blood One drive and made public announcement that February 5th we would be in kind inviting them to ours also. So they were very, very happy for that. Last but not least, are there other commissioner comments before I go on to agenda item number 16? Okay. Agenda item number 16, construction vehicle registration and identification decals. For those of you who have been in the town for quite a while, we used to have a decal system for our licensed and our registered subcontractors and service employees, whether that was an air conditioning unit replacement or your lawn maintenance company. And several years ago, the state preempted that it's no longer permissible to charge for a sticker like this, nor can you make any type of registration mandatory. So at that time, I think we threw the baby out with the bathwater and ceased completely. And I would just like to open it up. This is the only time that we as commissioners have chance to speak to each other and bring up ideas, and I always encourage that. To bring back forth the idea, there's a lot more construction in our town than we have ever had before. And we also are, because of the safety issues, one of them that you heard about earlier, I just used to like to walk by, particularly when I'd have a lot of seasonality in my neighborhood, and there's a white van backed up to my neighbor's house and it has no identification on it. I have 2 choices. I have the choice to call the police and ask them to come out and take a look, and or to call back to Michigan or to Rhode Island where my neighbors are and see if I can get a hold of them and say, hey, are you having some work done? What's going on? So I just wanted to bring the idea back up. I know that it cannot be something that is mandatory. It would have to be voluntary. But I think with the uptick in crime and with the high percentage of seasonal residents and the large increase in our construction, I just wanted to see if there is an appetite for just to open a discussion for it.
The people have to come in and get a permit, offer to give them a sticker. Right?
We discussed something similar in our discussion of landscaping codes and updating and what have you. And that's where we had the conversation about no mandating, but reaching out like guys doing now with the contractors. That might be a perfect time if we decided to include such a program, where as you're reaching out to these guys, you let them know that the availability of a volunteer sticker or what have you, that they, there's no reason not for them proudly show it, because that tells your guys that these guys are working in town. And maybe we could find a way to do it in a friendly manner, but I understand exactly what you're saying. We've had a conversation. What do you think there, construction guy?
The thing with the construction, and then where the thought comes from, I cannot see that a lot of the contractors would actually be bothered with it, just because it's not their problem. If it's not mandated, it's like Yeah, so what?
I think they'd be interested in the good press, that you know what I mean? If somebody says, oh, this guy, you know, everybody in town knows who's doing the work.
We can certainly have a decal and offer it, like Steve said, offer it with a permit, you know, you do an AC work here, give this to your AC guy, let him stick it on the window. The thing is, what it used to be, and I remember those times, not here from Ocean Ridge, I remember it from different municipalities where they had similar things with the construction decals. You had to tie it to the contractor actually being registered, licensed, and each contractor has different dates. So it's not like September 30th, your license expires. Your license might expire September 30th, but your insurance expires March 15th or March 11th. So on March 12th, even though your license might be active, your insurance is not active, so you're technically not allowed to do work here in Ocean Ridge. So when you talk to Lisa in the office, she will always go and see, is the insurance current? Is the license current? Is the registration with the municipalities and with the county current? And when that is not current, then your sticker basically is obsolete. But the idea to just know, yes, this is a contractor, yeah, if we can hand them out and they want to stick it on the car, I don't think it's going to solve much. Because it's not mandated.
Well, I guess the solution that I'm looking for is, as a resident, some peace of mind that who's in your neighbor's driveway or down the street is actually somebody who belongs there.
Right. I completely understand.
So Pam, if we provide a sticker or decal to a contract, they come in and get a permit, say, hey, you can have this decal, more friendly. They say, sure, and they put it on, and then they're back in town 9 months from now. And what Barton's saying takes place, they're no longer insured, they're no longer certified. Have we gathered liability by putting an official sticker on there?
No, we haven't done that, but we might want to date them for that reason. You know, at least you know that it's not more than a year. You have to, maybe we change the color every year.
Yeah.
That might help, but you're not really guaranteed that they're going to be in business the next month. Also, in my conversations with the mayor, I think she's reaching for more than just those who get a permit. You want it to cover more than just construction.
People the landscape.
I'm just trying to make it simple.
Right.
Your way is the easiest.
Simple has to be the backbone of it.
Offering it, but the concept of if we decide that that's something we wanted to take, and I like the yearly idea because it's not tied to necessarily permit or what have you. Just saying these folks are legitimately have done work in Ocean Ridge, but guy's little his PR campaign, right, would be a perfect place.
It would be.
Yeah, we did talk about that, and there's one thing I want to do, and I'm still wanting to do it without saying definitively that this is a great landscaper. I always want to leave open the door that owners still need to vet their contract.
Right.
Okay, so it's not a universal claim.
Yes, I think
If I
normal
think
way
someone
electric.
did a good job today, you know, they might have a drug habit and then they just fall off the wagon or do something, and then in the future they do something bad. I'm not claiming that this person will always.
You're not vouching for them.
Right, it's difficult to do. So as a part of my community forum too, every quarter I'll be awarding some type of certificate or plaque, and one of them I have also in line with what Susan and I spoke about is having a decal, like, you know, something nice that they would probably display on their vehicle saying that, you know, they did some type of training with the building official. Without, you know, claiming that they'll always do a
Right,
good
it's
job.
still up to the resident to vet them
Right.
themselves.
So, and we also talked about maybe having some society in the town doing a similar thing to Angie's List. If you guys are familiar with how that program started, it was one resident that was impressed with the work that her plumber did, I believe, and she wanted to recommend her plumber to her neighbors. So she put a system in place where she started encouraging and giving out the same sticker and award that, service people would proudly display. And then it took off to know $1 million business in the United States, so, again, someone can do a good job for a good time. And, I never ever want to say that the billing official promoted this person and they stole something from my house. I'll be careful about that. You never know what could happen in the future, but, if they did a good job, I want to say that.
Somewhere between volunteer and registration.
Right.
Well, I just wanted to open it up for discussion. Any thoughts, Commissioner Fessler?
I don't think it's a bad idea. I just don't know if it's gonna really work.
Okay.
But it's not gonna cost as much for a couple of decals.
Yeah.
Any little thought?
How much are decals? We get
I mean, it
200.
will cost the town some money. I mean, we have to pay for the decals. We can't charge for it.
No.
Could we
so
use a brightly slipped?
And
piece of
don't
paper?
forget, the staff has to administer it too, so that's.
The concept to kind of talk about, right? Well done.
But the reality, like Steve said, if somebody comes in for a permit, you hand them the sticker. Somebody has 4 permits, has an AC permit, has a storing permit, hand them 4 stickers for the 4 subcontractors, 5 subcontractors.
I mean, you also have to think about that. You're also thinking about landscaping, which we don't require permit depending.
Right.
So we would have to reach out to that, and that used to take staff hours. You used to have to do direct mail to all the previous contractors.
We
And
were
also,
discussing doing
if
a
they
similar.
switch trucks, keeping track of, hey, do you switch trucks? How do you switch?
That's the other.
Yeah, but that becomes the more the mandated registration, but something where it becomes a volunteer, come to the town, coffee with the cop version. It's a very good start there that we can lead into other directions in the town and as they come in on their own.
Well, the only reason I brought it up for many reasons, but I would not advocate anything that's gonna cost a lot of money or a lot of time. So, I mean, if we can keep thinking it through and see what's
I think we should,
possibility.
honestly, I think we should try it. I think we should get 300 decals. It's February 1st, so come up with a color code. This year is, I don't know, yellow. We're making yellow stickers, Ocean Ridge. 400 of them, get them printed, hand them out, and let's see.
Just let me insert something into that. Before we start doing something like that, we do have to have Pam review the legalities because of the laws that were passed out.
Yeah, we need a plan.
I was gonna do that anyway.
And the
That's what's gonna cost you, no.
Well, it does. It will cost
does.
money because of the paper.
The main thing that makes me a little concerned is charging. And it being like a BTR, but it sounds like we're not moving in that direction. So if it's not charging money, if it's not trying to take the place of the business tax receipt, and we're making it voluntary, and we may be able to nicely force others. Nicely force.
But we can see how it starts.
Right.
To it.
But I think we will be okay. At first, when I heard it, just all the issue spotting, charging money, mandatory. Is it a violation of the preemption of state law? So I will, if you don't mind, spend a little bit of time researching it. Not a whole lot. I think from what I'm hearing, I do think it's something that you can do. So.
Do you want to put a number to it, this discussion? Do we want to say, you know what, look into it for $200?
You have 1 hour to look into it.
Yeah, I can do it in 1 hour.
All right.
1 hour.
So,
Maximum 1 hour.
okay, any further discussion from the commission? All right, I'd like to call the meeting adjourned at 7:52. Thank you.
Oh, you got the clock fixed.
Yeah. We were about 4 weeks.